doesn't
was just
seemingly work.
saying,
But
like,
we're talking about drugs right now, and we got onto this conversation of, you know, like we're talking about. We got onto it because we were looking up Albert Hoffman, the inventor of LSD, and the idea of he created LSD through some sort of experimentation, and how do you get to that position, and then naturally with me, and this has always been a thing for me, is how did crack get here? Where did meth come from? How did some idiots in the hood have so much cocaine sitting around that they could experiment with a bunch of different recipes until they finally figured out crack?
well, and like I said, did somebody have a brother that was a major chemistry student that was like, hey, I don't know how crack's made, so it wasn't as simple as, oh, I wonder if we can make it more potent if we heat it up. Like, what happens when you heat it up? And they took a little Bunsen burner, and I don't
But
know.
no, okay.
Again, I
So
don't know how
crack is a
crack works.
recipe. Crack is something that I don't necessarily know. Let's see if we can look it up.
Like, do they boil it down, add shit to it, then harden it? I have no idea. I don't even know what crack looks like. Is it come in a rock form? Oh yeah, crack rock. Okay, so it's
Yeah, no, they make giant crystals of it.
giant crystals of it. So that means it's got to be heated up. It's got to come to a boil at some point, and then cool down. So what happens in between there? It
Okay,
can't be
crack is
just.
made by boiling a mixture of powder cocaine, water, and baking soda or ammonia. This process removes the hydrochloride from the pure form of cocaine, creating a solid substance that is then broken down into smaller rocks. The hydrochloride has been removed from the cocaine, and the rocks are smokable. The process, I don't care about that.
So you can't. You're not supposed to smoke cocaine because of the
What else goes
hydrochloride.
into crack? When crack is cooked, it is usually has additional chemicals or substances added to it, the most common of which are Adderall or fentanyl. Makes no sense. Why would you add fentanyl to crack? That is, you're going to get the opposite effect. Cutting crack. Okay, wait. Let's see. This isn't. I'm not.
Okay, so
Other
it was
chemicals
just
used in the
boiling it down.
manufacturing
But then
of
they add
cocaine
baking soda
is
or
often
ammonia.
mixed with a variety of chemicals such as ethyl acetate, acetone, and butol during production. These chemicals, which often smell like solvents or nail polish, end up in crack when it is cooked. Some chemicals used in cocaine manufacturing that end up in crack include kerosene. Okay, blah, 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 blah. It's crack through the body. See, I can't. How is crack made? To make crack, a person begins with cocaine in its powder form. They mix this cocaine with baking soda or a similar substance. The mixture is then boiled, often in a microwave until it hardens and forms a solidified mass. That mass can then be broken into smaller pieces called crack rocks.
So
So
they
you're
just.
telling me that
Who would have thought? You know what? Let's boil this with baking soda.
right? I mean,
How?
what person in the hood had the basic chemical knowledge of cocaine and the basic chemical to go, hey, you know what? Cocaine's chemical makeup
We
is
can't
this.
smoke it because of the
If we
hydrochloride.
this, right? So
So
what
how do
if
we get
we,
rid of it?
right? What if we just added some baking soda while we boiled it? Because then it would form little rocks, and like that's not
Well, it extracts the hydrochloride, and then where does the hydrochloride go? It extracts it from the cocaine, leaving
into the
pure
water,
cocaine.
and you then you take your you.
Oh, so the whole thing doesn't
But there's
solidify. It's just it ends up with rocks inside the water.
right, and then you never seen it. They drop the
No,
rocks into like cold water, and they, I
no,
don't
I've never
necessarily know the
seen it.
process, but it's like you have to think. So initially, and this all happened like at the exact same time across the United States. And what happened to work out is all the Jewish news stations went on, put all these these commercials out for it, saying tonight on the news, I know all you hate life, life sucks, and we've been telling you that cocaine is the glamour drug for decades now. Well, now there's a much cheaper, more powerful, more readily available version of cocaine that you can smoke that just hit the streets.
Hello.
Super cheap, super powerful. Stay away from it. Right? Like, do you know how many people were drug addicts and thought that's a good idea? I'm going to do that. It's all just it's all it's weird. Let's and you have to think like let's see if we can just look up crack cocaine. Crack cocaine, commonly known simply as crack and also as rock, is a freebase form of the stimulant cocaine that can be smoked. Crack offers a short, intense high to smokers. The Manual of Adolescent Substance Abuse Treatment calls it the most addictive form of cocaine. Think about how nuts that is, right? What's funny is forever, because of the Jewish controlled media, cocaine was this glorious drug, was this party drug, the rich people drug, and it was super duper expensive because the rich people did it, and because you couldn't get your hands on it. It was like this it was the thing. It was a status symbol. When the reality is, as far as highs go, if you're all about just getting high, the best high you're gonna get for your buck is like huffing paint and shit like that. Now, that's also gonna fucking rot your brain and shit. But because cocaine is glamorous, it costs a lot of money, and it's seen as not this bad. It's just disgusting. The idea of snorting, all that shit up into your nose, into your cavities, that's just disgusting. The amount of stuff you're snorting into your body, up your nose, you have no idea where this stuff has been, and how it's made and all that shit. They've tricked you into thinking that you snorting a white line of powder is oh, look at me, I'm a rock star. And cocaine, the only good line of coke is the first line of coke. And that only lasts for a little while. After that, you're just chasing that monkey the whole fucking night. It sucks. I hate coke. Crack cocaine first saw widespread use as a recreational drug in primarily impoverished neighborhoods in New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, Baltimore, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Miami in late 1984 and 1985. It just first saw widespread use. It just hit all of those impoverished areas just like that. Just all at the same time. In late 84, early 85. It somehow spread across the country in the black neighborhoods. More than you know. Kurt was part of the fraud. That's why he killed your aunt. How does that even make sense to you? Cocaine was expensive back then. Cocaine's still expensive, but cocaine is the idea of cocaine. It's expensive, and this is just gross. This is a drug that doesn't even give you this crazy good high. It's super addictive. It turns you into a fucking a psycho, not just psycho zombie fucking. It's horrible. Why would anyone fucking ever want to do it? Why would you ever see somebody on crack and be like, that looks like fun? I'm gonna try that. People in crack aren't like, whoa, man, let me talk about the universe and blah, blah, blah. People in crack are psychotic. Hey, Look, it's a Diddy profile. Oh, let's be distracted, shall we? This rapid increase in use and availability was named the crack epidemic, which began to wane in the 90s. The use of another highly addictive stimulant drug, crystal meth, ballooned between 1994 and 2004. Let's see what this crack epidemic says. The crack epidemic was a surge of crack cocaine use in major cities across the United States throughout the entirety of the 80s and early 90s. This resulted in a number of social consequences, such as increasing crime and violence in American inner city neighborhoods, a resulting backlash in the form of tough on crime policies, and a massive spike in incarceration rates. In the early 1980s, the majority of the cocaine being shipped to the United States was landing in Miami and originated in Colombia. We just couldn't figure out how to stop it. Traffic through the Bahamas. Soon there was a huge glut of cocaine powder in these islands, which caused the price to drop by as much as 80%. Faced with the dropping prices for their illegal product, drug dealers made a decision to convert the powder into the compounder to crack and sold smokable a solid smokable form of cocaine that could be sold in smaller quantities to more people. It was so instead of just lowering the price on the cocaine, the dealers decided to put more effort, more cost into it so they could cut it down into smaller pieces. Yeah, that makes a big difference. Get your hair cut and shave. Oh, okay. I hope you're a female. Nobody cares about Coke, dude. Yep, nobody cares about Coke. Good thing we're not talking about Coke, are we? Uh, it was cheap, simple to produce, ready to use, and highly profitable for dealers to develop. As early as 1981, reports of crack were appearing in Los Angeles, Oakland, Chicago, New York, Miami, Houston, and the Caribbean. The word crack may have first appeared in a media publication in the subheadline of a Rolling Stone article on May 1st, 1980, titled Freebase: A Treacherous Obsession, The Rise of Crack Cocaine, and the Fall of Addicts Destroyed by the Drug. Boy, they were just predicting shit. And in like 3 years, had some Facebook page. Yep, that's me. If you haven't seen me in 3 years, I've been doing my thing the entire time. Why do you think you haven't been able to find me? The article said uh, the article said that Freebase made its strongest inroads in the music industry of Los Angeles at this time. In 1980, crack the similar crack form had just been starting and in a few years would become predominant and also move to the East Coast and elsewhere. The article describes both the earlier freebase method of purifying cocaine to make it smokable, which started in 1974, and the newer but similar crack making process. Freebase was made by users who would combine cocaine with baking soda and water and then extract the base salt, freeing it with ammonia. Seriously, who figured that out? And then how did that become something that just regular people knew how to do? Like they just sort of yada yada over that part, but it's pretty fucking crazy, right? These This achieves a lower melting point, and when heated with a lighter, the vapors are inhaled, but the substance was dangerously flammable. A less volatile but similar process was developed by dealers around 1980, where street cocaine is dissolved in a solution of water and baking soda and then dried out into crack rocks. As the rocks are heated, it makes a crackling sound, and this is how the substance got its name. It was not until 1985, after an article in the New York Times described crack use in the Bronx, New York, titled "A New Purified Form of Cocaine Causes Alarm as Abuse Increases," that within a year, more than 1,000 press stories were published. That was a weird sentence. Initially, crack had a higher purity than street powder. Around 1984, powder cocaine was available on the street at an average of 55% purity for 100 per gram, equivalent to $293 in 2023. And crack was sold at average purity levels of 80+% for the same price. In some major cities such as New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Houston, and Detroit. Woo, we're mentioned, woo. One dose of crack could be obtained for as little as $2.50, equivalent to $7 in 2023. According to the 1985-1986 National Narcotics Intelligence Consumers Committee report, crack was available in Atlanta, Boston, Detroit, Kansas City, Miami, New York City, Newark, San Francisco, Seattle, St. Louis, Dallas, Denver, Minneapolis, and Phoenix. Brush my hair. In 1985, cocaine-related hospital emergencies rose by 12%, from 23,500 to 26,300. In 1986, these incidents increased 110%, from 26,300 to 55,200. Between 84 and 87, cocaine incidents increased to 94,000. By 1987, crack was reported to be available in the District of Columbia and all but 4 states in the United States. Some scholars have cited the crack epidemic as an example of a moral panic, noting that the explosion in use and trafficking of the drug actually occurred after the media coverage of the drug as an epidemic. Exactly. Thank you, sir. The media was the Jewish media was the advertising campaign. You couldn't pay for a better advertising. The best thing that could ever happen to me would be the Jewish media, the Jewish community getting mad at me. They start crying about something. They're too stupid to make me look bad, so it would just work out to my advantage. I've always said, man, let me be the example. If I'm wrong, put me on some sort of program and let your experts debunk everything I have to say. I've been doing this for such a long time. I've been going live for such a long time and just waiting for people to come in here and actually engage in the conversation instead of saying stupid shit like brush your hair. And it just doesn't happen. It's crazy how I'm throwing up all the layups, right? It's not like I'm talking about some secret conspiracy theory stuff that you have to know the symbols and all that shit to be a part of the conversation. I'm talking really, really basic stuff here. And instead of engaging or, trying to help me understand what I'm getting wrong, this is all I ever end up getting. It's really weird. You would think if I was wrong, it would be easy to show. There would be, every day I would be fucking ending the video all disappointed. Like, man, somebody came through and did it again. But it just never happens. It never fucking happens. Impact by region. In a study done by Roland Fryer, Stephen Levitt, and Kevin Murphy, a crack index was calculated using information on cocaine-related arrests, deaths, and drug raids, along with low birth rates and media coverage in the United States. The crack index aimed to create a proxy for the percentage of cocaine-related incidents that involved crack. Crack was an almost unknown drug until 1985. This abrupt introductory date allows for the estimation and the use of the index with the knowledge that values prior to 1985 are essentially zero. The index showed that the Northeast U.S. was most affected by the crack epidemic. The U.S. cities with the highest crack index were New York, especially in the city's Washington Heights neighborhood, Newark, and Philadelphia. The same index used by Fryer, Levitt, and Murphy was then implemented in a study that investigated the effects of crack cocaine across the United States. In cities with populations over 350,000, the instances of crack cocaine were twice as high as those in cities with a population of less than 350,000. These indicators show that the use of crack cocaine was much higher in urban areas. States and regions with concentrated urban populations were affected at a much higher rate, while states with primarily rural populations were less affected. Maryland, New York, and New Mexico had the highest instances of crack cocaine use, while Idaho, Minnesota, and Vermont had the lowest instances of crack cocaine use. Ooh. Effect on African American communities. African American, such a dumb thing. African American families were largely located in low income inner city neighborhoods. This led to crack impacting African American communities far more than others. Between 84 and 89, the homicide rate for black males aged 14 to 17 more than doubled, and the homicide rate for black males aged 18 to 24 increased nearly as much. During this period, the black community also experienced a 20 to 100% increase in fetal death rates, low birth weight babies, weapons arrests, and the number of children in foster care. A 2018 study found that the crack epidemic had long-term consequences for crime, contributing to the doubling of the murder rate of young black males soon after the start of the epidemic, and that the murder rate was still 70% higher 17 years after crack's arrival. The paper estimated that 8% of the murders in 2000 are due to the long run effects of the emergence of crack markets, and that the elevated murder rates for young black males can explain a significant part of the gap in the life expectancy between black and white males. Crack cocaine use and distribution became popular in the cities that were in the state of social and economic chaos, such as New York, Los Angeles, and Atlanta, and particularly in their low-income inner-city neighborhoods with high African American concentrations. As a result of the low skill levels and minimal initial resources outlay required to sell crack, systemic violence flourished as a growing army of young men, enthusiastic inner-city crack sellers attempted to defend their economic investment. Once the drug became embedded in the particular communities, the economic environment that was best suited for survival caused further social disintegration within the city. That's fucking bullshit. The reality is, there's more than enough crack sellers for everybody. There's more than enough crack users for everybody. The idea of defending turf and all that shit, and it's costing, it's greed. If not for what black people have been tricked into believing it means to be black, then that sort of, Jews don't do that. Jews will have fucking, jewelry stores across the street from each other. They don't give a shit. They'll agree, hey, you sell this stuff half price and I'll sell this stuff half price. And when one person leaves there because they're upset because they see that your prices are this, they come over here, they get we'll split the customer. And they agree and it works out well. We don't do that. People of color have been told to fight, kill each other over that shit. It's fucking stupid. If gas stations if there can be multiple gas stations on every corner, and all of them are doing very well, then you know that there's more than enough for everybody. This shit's crazy. And see, like always, I'm trying to look for the details, right? And the details aren't going to be there. there's a lot of details here that if anybody hears this and everybody, if you're doing a book report, all you have to do is reword things a little bit. Change some sentences around, use a few different words, and this is a great book report. But the details as to, where did this shit, how did it come up? Who's how did this recipe, how did this formula just spread around like it did? How did everybody figure it out at the same time? Like they literally say how it just sort of sprung up overnight. It happened everywhere, blah, blah, blah. But how? Sentencing disparities. Now, see, now we're going to get into the emotional stuff that's going to make you forget that you were trying to find details about the shit, right? In 1986, the U.S. Congress passed laws that created a 100 to 1 sentencing disparity for the possession or trafficking of crack when compared to the penalties for powder cocaine, which is fucking stupid. Widely criticized as discriminatory against African Americans and other racial minorities who were more likely to use crack than powder cocaine. This 100 to 1 ratio was mandated by federal law in 1986. Boy, they sure got that shit through quickly, didn't they? Persons convicted in federal court of possessing of 5 grams of cocaine received a minimum mandatory sentence of 5 years in prison. Right, because that's what, if somebody has crack for their own use, what you should do is punish them. They should be punished. That their life is too good, you need to take away their lives and then make the rest of their lives harder. That'll prevent them from using crack again. Right? They were only using the crack because their lives were too good. They had too many opportunities before. So now that you have stifled that shit a little bit, now they should really succeed, right? On the other hand, possession of 500 grams of powder cocaine carried the same sentence. 500 grams? How many is 500 grams? I mean, an ounce is 28 grams. So, 25. It's close to 25 grams or 25 ounces. That's like almost that's like a pound and a half of cocaine or some shit. In 2010, the Fair Sentencing Act cut the sentence disparity to 18 to 1. Oh, well, that's good then. That's good. At least it's less. That's like when they raised the gas prices to $5 a gallon for a little bit, and then they drop them back down to $3.50, and we're like, whew, at least it's not $5 anymore. Never mind that it should be like $1 or less. Nah, we're happy with $3.50 because it's not $5. Same shit. In 2012, 88% of imprisonments from crack cocaine were African American. Further, the data shows the disparity between lengths of sentences of crack cocaine and heroin. The majority of crack imprisonments are placed in the 10 to 20 year range, while the imprisonments related to heroin use or possession range from 5 to 10 years. Wow, what a surprise. Post-epidemic commentary. A number of authors have discussed race and the crack epidemic, including Memphis Black writer Demiko Booth, who spent 12 years in federal prison after being arrested for the first-time offense of selling crack cocaine at the age of 18, published the book, Why Are So Many Black Men in Prison, in 2007. How the fuck did he do that? That's amazing. Writer and lawyer Michael Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness, 2010, argues that punitive laws against drugs like crack cocaine adopted under the Reagan administration's war on drugs resulted in harsh social consequences, including large numbers of young black men imprisoned for long sentences, the exacerbation of drug crime despite the decrease in illegal drug use in the United States, and increased police brutality against the black community, resulting in injury and death for many black men, women, and children. Yeah, but they're just making that up, right, white guys? According to Alexander, society turned to racist criminal justice policies to avoid exhibiting obvious racism. She writes that since African Americans were the majority users of crack cocaine, see this again. This is just perpetuating the narrative. This isn't telling me how it got here, how we got to the position we're in. This is just more of the they did this and we did that, and it's fucking really weird. Dark Alliance series. San Jose Mercury journalist Gary Webb sparked national controversy in 1996 with his 1996 Dark Alliance series, which alleged that Nicaraguan dealers with Contra ties started and significantly fueled the 1980s crack epidemic. Investigating the lives and connections of the Los Angeles crack dealers Ricky Ross, Oscar Danilo Blandon, and Norwin Meneses, Webb alleged that profits from these crack sales were funneled through the CIA so that the CIA supported Contras. I mean, you have to think like, of course it was. How does Ricky Ross get to be Ricky Ross without government help? How do you like, have any of you ever tried to do anything super illegal like that? That shit, you have to be a stone cold, like, but he's black. So, I mean, the idea that Rick Ross was facilitating this huge drug network and the cops just couldn't get him, it's bullshit. The United States Department of Justice of the Inspector General rejected Webb's claims that there was a systematic effort by the CIA to protect drug trafficking activities of the Contras. The DOJ OIG reported, "We found that Blandon and Meneses were plainly major drug traffickers who enriched themselves at the expense of countless drug dealers and the communities in which these drug users lived, just like other drug dealers of their magnitude. They also contributed some money to the Contra cause, but we did not find that their activities were the cause of the crack epidemic in Los Angeles, much less the United States as a whole, or that they were a significant source of support for the Contras." You just fucking contradicted yourself. And that's that. That's the crack epidemic, according to. Alright, I'm done. I can't do anymore. I'm tired. Fucking body hurts. So, you guys have a great day. You pedophiles, you absolutely have to kill yourself. Please do.